Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for latest updates.
They were more than friends. They were like brothers. The kings of Oklahoma City street racing and the two men who built the Street Outlaws empire from nothing. So, what really happened to Big Chief and Murden over a pot? For years, fans have been left with rumors and whispers, but the truth is a story of loyalty, betrayal, and a friendship that couldn't survive the bright lights of fame. For a long time, if you thought of Street Outlaws, you thought of two people. Justin Shearer, known as Big Chief, and Sean Ellington, known as Murden. They were the faces of the show, a team that fans loved to watch. Their partnership was the engine that powered the entire 405 crew. They weren't just friends who raced together on weekends. They were business partners at Midwest Streetcars, the legendary shop that served as the headquarters for the fastest street racers in the country. Big Chief was the man in charge, the one who ran the show and made the rules. Murden was his right-hand man, the quiet killer with one of the most feared cars on the street. Together, they were seen as the top dogs, the two leaders who had a plan to make sure one of them was always at the number one spot on the list. Their bond seemed unbreakable, a true brotherhood built on a shared love for speed, adrenaline, and high-octane action. They were a dynamic duo, and it felt like nothing could ever come between them. But behind the scenes, the pressure of running a TV show, a business, and a team of racers was starting to build. And soon, the first cracks in their perfect partnership would begin to show. The first public sign that something was wrong came as a shock to everyone. In an emotional moment on the show, Sean announced he was leaving Midwest Streetcars. 4 years, the shop had been his second home, the place where he and Chief built and tuned their cars side by side. Now, he was walking away. He told the cameras he was going to start working on his car, the Murden, at his own place. The reason he gave was that he was falling out of love with racing. The constant pressure to win, to be the best, was taking its toll. He explained that working out of his own shop without anyone else's help would force him to become a better tuner and learn to make the right decisions for his car and his team on his own. It was a move that stunned fans. The two friends, who had always been a team, were now officially separating their professional lives. This physical distance was the first real clue that their bond was not as strong as it once was. It was a decision that created a space between them, a space that would only grow wider over time. As fans started asking questions, Big Chief took to social media to give an official explanation for the split. He told everyone that there was no big fight or dramatic event. According to him, he and Sean had simply grown apart over the years. Their interests had changed. Chief explained that his entire life was about racing 24/7. He was always thinking about how to be faster, how to get to number one. Sean, on the other hand, wanted to find more balance in his life. He wanted to spend more time with his family and wasn't as interested in spending every waking moment at the shop. This seemed like a simple, clean explanation, but the rumors told a very different story. Fans and people close to the show whispered about something more happening behind the scenes. One story that spread was about a time when Chief and Sean had both agreed to appear at an event for a sponsor. At the last minute, Chief supposedly bailed on the commitment to go racing somewhere else, leaving Sean to deal with the angry sponsor all by himself. Other rumors connected the timing of their fallout directly to Big Chief's personal life. His marriage to his wife Alicia had ended, and he had started a new very public relationship with another racer named Jackie Brash. Some believe that the way Chief handled his family situation caused him to lose the respect of his old friends, including Sean. The official story was that they just grew apart. But the whispers suggested a much deeper story of broken promises, shifting loyalties, and a friendship that was torn apart by the pressures of fame and personal choices. The truth, it seemed, was buried somewhere between the clean public statement and the messy reality of their lives. To understand how deep their bond once was, you have to go back to the very beginning. Justin Big Chief Shearer was born in Kentucky, but moved to Oklahoma in 1992. From the young age of 9, he was obsessed with street racing. He would ride his bike down to Old Route 66 just to watch the cars fly by under the moonlight. He grew up in that world and eventually became the go-to guy for anyone who wanted to race in Oklahoma City. He was the king of the streets, the man who made the rules. Sean Ellington, however, was an outsider. He was born in California and moved to a small town in Oklahoma as a kid where he learned about cars working in his dad's auto body shop. It wasn't until 2005 that he moved to Oklahoma City as an adult looking for a fresh start. He had a fast car, a 1969 Camaro, but he didn't know anyone in the local racing scene. That all changed one night when he was cruising around and saw a group of race cars gathered in a parking lot. He pulled in, and a man walked up to him. It was Big Chief. Chief, the established race master, saw Sean's powerful car and asked him a simple question. "Are you wanting to race this thing?" Sean said yes. And Chief set up his very first street race in OKC. That first race ended with Sean getting a couple of tickets from the police, but it was the start of something huge. The two men realized they could help each other. Chief had the street knowledge and the connections. Sean had the resources from his business and the drive to build a car that could change the game. This was the moment their alliance was formed, an alliance that would soon take over the entire world of street racing. Even though they were best friends and business partners, Big Chief and Modernova were also fierce competitors. Their friendship was always tested on the street, where only one person could be number one. This rivalry was put on full display for the world to see in a famous episode of Street Outlaws called Big Chief vs. Modernova. At the time, another racer, Daddy Dave, held the top spot, and Chief and Sean had a plan to take it from him. The plan was simple. They would race each other, and the winner would then go on to challenge for the number one spot, making sure the crown stayed with one of them. As the challenger, Chief had to have what he called an awkward conversation with his best friend to officially call him out for a race. Despite the tension, they agreed to put their friendship aside for one night and let the cars do the talking. When the light dropped, it was one of the closest races the show had ever seen. Both cars hooked up perfectly and stayed straight down the road neck and neck. In the end, Big Chief managed to pull ahead and win by just half a car length. The race proved that even when they were at their closest, the desire to be the fastest was always there. Their friendship was strong enough to handle the heat of competition. It wasn't racing that would eventually break them apart. It was something much more complicated. The pressure on their friendship didn't just come from racing each other. The television show itself often created situations that put their personal bonds to the test in ways they never expected. One of the most intense moments came when Big Chief was forced to race against someone very close to Modernova, his own father, Richard Ellington. Richard was also a racer, and in one episode, the luck of the draw pitted him against his son's best friend. The show framed this as one of the toughest decisions of Big Chief's entire racing career. He was faced with an impossible choice. On one hand, he was a competitor who wanted to win and move up the list. On the other hand, he was being asked to race against the father of his closest friend, a man who had always supported him. This wasn't just a race for a spot on the list. It was a high-stakes emotional showdown that tested his loyalty and his friendship with Sean. This kind of manufactured drama was great for television, but it put an incredible amount of strain on the real-life relationships of the racers. They were constantly forced to turn personal loyalties into plot points for the camera. While their friendship survived this particular test, it was a clear example of how the show could create conflict where there was none, slowly wearing down the bonds that held the 405 crew together. The feud between Big Chief and Modernova didn't happen in a quiet room. It happened in the middle of a war zone. The 405 crew was a family, but it was a family that was always fighting. The world of Street Outlaws was a pressure cooker of rivalries, and Big Chief was at the center of most of them. His conflict with Modernova was just one of many battles he was fighting. He had a long and intense rivalry with another top racer, Daddy Dave. For 20 years, the two had been going back and forth, each trying to prove he was the fastest. Their races were always personal and always close. Chief also had a very controversial rivalry with a racer named Document. Their races were filled with arguments over the rules, disputed starts, and heated disagreements that made for some of the most dramatic moments in the show's history. He also had clashes with other drivers like Reaper, who was always trying to get under his skin. The tension wasn't just with races outside his inner circle. There were times when the 405 team itself would fracture. In one famous episode, the crew traveled to California to race, and Big Chief got into a fiery argument with his own teammate, Ryan Martin. Chief ended up siding with their rivals over a disagreement about the rules, causing a huge fight within the team. This constant conflict was the normal state of things in the 405. The environment was tough and competitive. Understanding this helps explain why the friendship between Chief and Sean eventually broke. It wasn't just one thing that went wrong. It was the collapse of the strongest pillar in a building that was always shaking. In the chaotic world of the 405, there was one thing that brought order. The list. This was the top 10 ranking of the fastest street race cars in Oklahoma City. And it was the entire reason for their existence. Everything they did revolved around moving up or defending a spot on the list. It had a strict set of rules about who could race, when they could race, and how call-outs were made. And the man who enforced all those rules was Big Chief. As the race master, he was the judge, jury, and executioner of the streets. He organized the races. He settled the arguments, and he made the final call on who won and who lost. This position gave him a huge amount of power. If anyone wanted a shot at the list, they had to go through him first. But that power also meant he was at the center of every single fight. Whenever a racer felt like they were treated unfairly or disagreed with a call, their anger was directed at Chief. His identity was completely tied to his role as the keeper of the list. The rules were his rules, and the street was his kingdom. This is a critical piece of the story because when someone else tried to take that power away from him, it was a challenge he could not accept. When Street Outlaws first started, it was a show about a small group of friends racing on the dark roads of Oklahoma City. But as the show became a massive hit, everything changed. The money got bigger, the cars got faster, and the pressure got more intense. Their local racing scene turned into what some of the racers themselves called a traveling circus. The show created spin-offs like No Prep Kings, which took the races out of Oklahoma and put them on tracks all across the country. This created a new split within the 405 crew. Many of the racers like Sean and Ryan Martin embraced the No Prep Kings tour. They hit the road traveling from city to city competing for big money. This life on the road brought them closer to each other, but it also created a natural distance between them and Big Chief. Chief was more of a purist. He was focused on the original show and the real street racing that had started it all. He began to feel like the show was becoming faker and was turning into a money grab by the network. Fame forced every racer to make a choice. Do you change with the times or do you stay true to your roots? Sean and many others chose to adapt. They took the sponsorships. They raced on the tracks and they became part of the traveling show. It was the new reality of their job. But Big Chief resisted. He saw this evolution as a betrayal of what made street racing special. This was the core of their disagreement. Sean was moving forward into the future of the sport, while Chief was trying to hold on to the past. Their paths were no longer going in the same direction, and their friendship was caught in the middle. Big Chief's final battle wasn't against another racer. It was against the people who created the show. The breaking point came during the filming of a spin-off called America's List. The producers introduced a new rule that Chief could not stand, the race your way in policy. This rule allowed some racers to get a spot on the show by winning a few pre-season races instead of having to start at the bottom and earn their way up the list like everyone else had for years. Chief felt this was completely unfair. He saw racers from other cities getting opportunities that he believed they hadn't earned. For him, this new rule violated the code of the street. It was a shortcut that went against everything he believed in. He tried to talk to the production company to explain why the rule was bad for the sport and to get them to change it, but they wouldn't listen. Instead, they gave him an ultimatum. A producer told him, "Race with our rules or don't race." This was a direct challenge to his authority. For years, he had been the one to make the rules. Now, outsiders were telling him how to run his world. It was a line in the sand, and for Big Chief, it was a line he was not willing to cross. Faced with the choice of following rules he didn't believe in or walking away, Big Chief made a decision that shocked the racing world. He quit. He left the show that he had helped build into a global phenomenon. He later explained that he wasn't happy with the end product anymore. He refused to stand in front of the cameras and defend competition rules that he felt were wrong. He said that his integrity was on the line and he wasn't willing to compromise his beliefs for a TV show. He didn't hold back his feelings about what the show had become. He called it a super quick money grab and said that television networks were just trying to squeeze as much money out of it as they could before it was over. He announced that he was done with TV and wanted to get back to what he loved, real street racing. He planned to build his own brand on his own terms, far away from the control of any network. This was a huge moment. Big Chief wasn't just quitting a job. He was walking away from the entire empire he had helped create. It was a stand based on principle, a decision that marked the true end of an era for Street Outlaws. The show did not end with Big Chief's departure. It continued, but the entire dynamic of the 405 crew was changed forever. With the original king gone, a new leader had to step up. In the seasons that followed Chief's exit, the show's introduction described a new person overseeing the 405 crew. Sean "Murder Nova" Ellington. His former best friend and biggest rival had taken his place. The split between the two men was now complete. Their personal feud had ended with them going their separate ways, and now their professional lives reflected that same split. One man chose to adapt to the new world of television racing, and in doing so, he inherited the throne. The other man chose to stay true to his old school principles, even if it meant walking away from everything he had built. The personal fight between Chief and Sean was really just a smaller version of the bigger war Chief was fighting with the show. Both conflicts came from the same problem, a clash between Chief's pure vision of street racing and the commercial demands of a hit TV show. Sean decided to work within the new system, which was the first sign that Chief's world was changing. His final exit was just the last step in a battle. He had already lost the moment his closest friend chose a different path.